Yeah, so I had a unique experience. I grew up in a really small town in Maine, and both my parents were kind of hippies and had lived in Iowa for a long time. So growing up, I was homeschooled, and my parents never had really given me an impression either way if being gay was bad or anything. So I think that one thing that was different for me is I kind of knew from a really young age, like I was kind of slightly more attracted to guys and but had never really had a negative connotation associated with that. You know, if there was ever something in a movie or TV that I might have asked my parents about, I think their response was usually like, oh yeah, some guys like guys and some girls like girls. And it was really just like a non-issue at home. And so I was homeschooled up until 8th grade, and then I went to high school in a fairly small town of about 20,000 people that was like a half hour away from where I lived. And at that high school, it was really early on in my time there that I started to kind of pick up on some like derogatory jokes and kind of some impression there might not, I guess, you know, peer-wise be something, you know, might not really be accepted to like guys and not be in a, you know, most of the couples at school were male-female and all the guys always talked about the girls, and there was really no one who was talking about liking guys who was a guy, or any girls talking about liking girls. So I think it was that moment in high school when I was like, all through my childhood, I'd never really had a connotation of it being bad. And then once I got to high school, I kind of had to like take this step back and be like, whoa, like maybe there's something not quite okay going on here, and really had to kind of question it. And I think for a while, started to kind of fill the, I guess I was trying to, I would ask girls to dances, and you know, I knew deep down that I wasn't really attracted to the girls the same way I was to the guys, but kind of had this fear of being rejected by my peers if I wasn't kind of going with what the norm was at my high school. So definitely spent my first 3 years of high school trying to find my place and dating girls a little bit, going to dances with girls, and it was definitely hard because there really weren't any kids that were out at my high school, and I think thinking back on it now, even in like the media and things, there weren't as many, you know, gay role models at that time. So it was definitely a time where I was kind of struggling with figuring out what I was about and trying to find a place where kind of I could overcome the thing of the fear of kind of rejection by my peers, because it was a really challenging time. So, yeah, I think it was. There was definitely some times where it was scary, just to kind of think about. I think in a way, my parents, like I thought, almost the impressions that I got from high school made me think that my parents wouldn't be as okay with it as they ended up being. So I think in a way, it almost like if I'd come out, you know, before high school and my parents were fine with it, I think it would have helped me more. But when I got to high school, I wasn't out to my parents yet, and I think in a way the environment at high school almost made me more fearful of like how my parents might react, because I'm like, oh, like maybe they're gonna have a similar opinion to what I'd heard people talking or joking about in the hallways and things like that. So it was very isolating at times to really feel like there wasn't anyone that I could talk to and kind of figure that out. And I didn't really know if again this was like only me, like was I, you know, the only gay kid in Central Maine, and so that was really challenging. So it was actually the summer before my junior year of high school. No, sorry, summer before senior year. So I just finished junior year. My cousin went to a different high school, and it was the time when AOL Instant Messenger was really big. So everyone was always on Instant Messenger, and my cousin actually asked me to message a girl she knew at her high school because they liked the same boy. So I was supposed to like pretend it was some ridiculous like high school drama of me trying to find out if this other girl also liked the same guy as my cousin. And so I ended up chatting with this girl, and we had like eventually she like kind of called me out and was like, who are you? Like, what you're saying doesn't make sense. So I kind of was just like, I told her like straight up, I was like, oh, my cousin is Haley, and you know, she was trying to figure out if you also like this guy AJ. And so we ended up having a really good conversation, and I was honest with her. And after about like 40 minutes of chatting online, she just asked me via Instant Messenger, she was like, are you gay? And no one had ever asked me directly before. And I kind of had this moment, was like, why not? So I said yes. And it was the first time I'd ever like said it out loud to someone. And she was identified as bisexual. So we ended up hanging out and becoming really good friends. and she was connected in a town not that far from mine. I didn't know it existed, but there was actually a gay youth support group called Outright, and it met every Thursday night. So I started going to Outright, and Alicia, who's the girl I'd met via Instant Messenger, we'd go on Thursday nights, and it was just like such an amazing feeling to know that there were other kids my age who were thinking about these things and starting those things. So I went to that for a couple months before I started coming out to anyone, and Alicia was a big advocate for me telling my parents, because she kept saying they're not going to have a bad reaction or as bad as you think it's going to be. And I did eventually come out to them right before senior year of high school, and they took it really well. And then I came out to my cousin, and once I started doing it, it became a lot easier. And basically, I was out for my senior year of high school, and I think I was really fortunate. There were, of course, some rumors and things that I heard about. They were sometimes kind of hurtful and people talking, but for the most part, all of my close friends were really supportive. And it definitely got better after I started telling people, and really found that there was a lot of support there that I might not have been expecting. And I kind of had this experience that after I came out in high school, I then moved to Boston for college, and I was really excited to be in a place where there was a lot kind of going on for a gay community and things like that. And it was difficult at times because some of the friends I made early on in college had a much more difficult time in high school than I had. My friend Scott, who was one of my first boyfriends when I moved to Boston, he had been kicked out by his parents when he came out in high school and had lived with a mutual friend and was kind of coming to college to get away from a really difficult family situation. So I definitely have had a lot of friends that had a much more difficult coming out process than I did. And I think that, coming to kind of be there for them when they don't have the family support, I think that it was always really great to feel like there's a sense of community and support from other people who might not have been through something as bad, but it was nice to be able to support them through that experience. Yeah, I think that if you met me my first 3 years of high school and then you met me senior year or my first year of college, a lot of people in my senior year of high school were like, "You didn't go here freshman, sophomore year, right? Like you transferred, didn't you?" And I was like, no, I've been here. And it just was, I was like a very quiet, reserved person. I think because I was having a hard time figuring out who I was, I was really, really subdued. I can't even describe to you how terrible my fashion sense was early on in high school. But I definitely, became more comfortable with, exploring what I wanted to wear and just kind of really being open and being energetic in who I was and really getting involved in things. So it was really a 180 for as far as my personality and being able to be just comfortable with who I wanted to be, and kind of, I think I had trouble learning about myself until I was out and able to kind of start exploring who I was, because so much of that was hidden before because, kind of being afraid of what people might think or who might find out. But once I'd started that process of not worrying about who might find out, it felt great to be able to connect with people and really just be myself and kind of come into my own and become comfortable. I think there was a time in high school, I think partially because I was trying to find a way to conform and fit in, I had fixated on one girl in particular and wanting to ask her out. And when I had finally gotten up the courage to do that, I was rejected, which was, she was nice. She was really sweet about it. And just, I didn't know she had already kind of started dating someone. So it was really, she wasn't mean or anything, but I think that being rejected, even when I was trying to fit into kind of the straight norm, the heterosexual norm, was really, really hard to then feel like that's not working for me. And I couldn't even find a guy that I would want to ask out at that point. That was like freshman year of high school. So that was like a really difficult time just because, kind of really being unsure and feeling like I wasn't sure if I would ever be able to find someone. And, I think you kind of go to those worst case scenarios in your mind when you imagine the rest of your life that you're not ever going to date anyone or anything like that. And so that was definitely a really difficult time. And I think one thing that helped me get over that is sophomore year I did join the swim team. And made a lot more friends through that. So even though I was still really reserved and probably not quite comfortable with myself, I think being involved in any sort of group where I kind of had the team camaraderie kind of helped me not focus as much on not having a significant other, but just kind of having friends and friendship, and that definitely helped. And I think it wasn't until I started meeting other gay people that I really felt, I think, like truly okay, because it was definitely some periods where I definitely felt isolated.